How's it going? Welcome back, my wonderful wise ones. Today is a special day for all Souls fans. Let us rejoice. Let us bathe in the glory of the sun, shall we, for a second, and rejoice because, yes, today is all about jolly cooperation. Finally.
And engage in jolly cooperation.
Now, before I start this video, I just want to say, if you want to see my critique of this game more deeply, I made a previous video where I discuss the controversy around this game, my personal biases, and how I feel about some of the changes, like the art style, and just the kind of shift in tone when it comes to From Software, and especially this game, and what some people are saying. I will mention some of that in this review, but I do want to keep it more objective. That's why I separated the two. So go check it out because I had a lot to say. Let's just say that, okay? I had a lot to get off my chest because as much as I love this game, I don't love everything about it. And it is kind of, pulling me both ways as a huge Dark Souls fan. And let me just give you some context if you're not a wise one of the channel. If not, subscribe right now, become a wise one today as we destroy tribalism on this channel. No grifting, no bullshit on here, okay? What I like to do is cut through the BS, look at games objectively, tell you when I have a personal bias, and, just have a nuanced discussion. Everything has become so tribal today where we can't even criticize things that we love without getting, like some crazy people wanting to burn down your house.
And engage in jolly cooperation.
No! Not good! Stop!
So here is my Elden Ring Nightreign review, and I will be giving you positives and negatives about the game so you can weigh up the decision yourself as to if it's worth playing or not. That's how I do it here. I don't give you some abstract number, but I will be discussing, both the good and the bad. Now, let me just say this. I do think this game is great, and I do think that if you're playing it with a bunch of buddies who also love Souls games or just Elden Ring itself, you're gonna have a great time, okay? It's gonna be a fun time. So what the hell is going on? What is Elden Ring Nightreign? Well, what if I told you, that popular game genre where you're trapped in a little arena and you're kind of enclosed in a giant circle and that circle gets tighter and tighter and tighter until your asshole literally subtracts into a little black hole? Yeah, that's what happens in this game.
Fortnite.
So basically, it's Fortnite, but it's Elden Ring Fortnite, and Miyazaki has not sold his soul to the devil, so don't go crazy right now. But yes, that is literally what this game is, and I didn't think I would be saying that in the year 2025, but here we are. But there's a reason as to why battleground games, whatever the hell they're called, are so popular, and that's because it's fun, okay? It taps into our human ooga booga monkey ooga booga DNA. It taps into our primal essence of survival. It feels good. It just feels good, if you're trying to make it to day 3, but you fail on day 2 or day 1 or whatever, or you get stuck outside the little arena area, and you're praying to the almighty Elden Lords not to strike you down. That's where it's fun, okay? It's fun. It's just fun, even if it is much more basic compared to the leveling up system in the Elden Ring and all other Souls games.
Fortnite.
But hey, it doesn't matter. It's a fun time, okay? So let's get into all of that. That's what this game is. Please leave me your thoughts down below in the comments. I will give you my final verdict at the end of the video, so please have the good goddamn nature and the retention to stay with me on this journey.
Mr. B! Come on. Do it. Do it! Kill me, I'm here! Kill me! Come on, kill me, I'm here!
Because I'm a huge, passionate fan of Souls games, especially Dark Souls. Not so much Elden Ring. You can check out my 1-hour critique of that game, but I do love it, okay? I still love it. And I think I'm in an interesting position to give you this review because, you know, there's many things I love about it, but I'm not going to glaze it because I think Elden Ring can do no wrong. I do think that the game is amazing, but this is still Elden Ring at the end of the day. So 3 days, 3 nights, fight the boss, and get out, okay? That's what this game is all about. You can play 8 characters at launch. There might be more later on, I don't know, but 8 characters at launch. And you can't create your own custom character, okay? You can customize them, there are cosmetics, so you know, you can swag out your character, there's nothing wrong with that, so you don't all look the same, and there will be, you know, equipment that you can take with you. But I do love the fact that even though the leveling system is more basic, basically how it works is equipment is still tied to a specific character. And the game doesn't actually tell you this, so I'm telling you right now, that's how it works. Basically, you know, if you're swinging a goddamn halberd around, but you're playing as the sorcerer character, it's not gonna do as much damage. It's quite basic stuff, so just think along those lines and you should be good, okay? When it comes to equipment and all that kind of stuff. I do hope you enjoy this Elden Ring Nightreign review, this Elden Ring Nightreign game review, but I do need to preface that this is based on the early access stuff that I could play as a member of the press and stuff like that, so it's not the full version as of right now, but it's basically the full version, so that's why I'm giving you an early review, and I can only talk about things that I'm allowed to talk about, you know, and you know how it goes, so I'm just prefacing that, okay? And like I said, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean more than you could possibly know, honestly. I've been grinding YouTube for like the past 5 years. I'm trying super hard to go full-time with my content. If you love, you know, detailed analytical videos around gaming, I go much deeper than the average autist, okay? And I try and give you some philosophical insights and stuff like that, so please subscribe to my channel. I've got a co-hosted review series as well. I do a lot of different things, all focused around gaming and philosophy, so please do support me, subscribe to the channel. It would mean a great deal to me, and become a wise one. And give the video a like, by the way. Goddamn, smash the like button for Mr. Beast, okay? If I don't get at least 100 likes on this video, one of Mr. Beast's retention agents will come down my fucking chimney and shove an AK right into my mouth, okay? So please, for the love of God.
Come on, kill me, I'm here!
I'm just a little bit pumped up, you know, I'm just watching my YouTube retention graph go down, so I've got to stay active. So the first positive, yes, it is jolly cooperation. Quite a simple one, but basically, this game is awesome because basically, you can play it with your buddies. No shit, Savior, well done. Thanks for the review. But honestly, it is just great, you know. Elden Ring, Dark Souls, it's always had that element of co-op. It's always had summons, it's got the PvP, it's got invasions, bloodstains, seeing where other little dipshits fell off a mountain, you know, kicking a dog in its face, even though it's not a dog, okay? But anyway, it always has those moments, those multiplayer moments.
And engage in jolly cooperation.
There's no weird Rick and Morty portals that you have to jump through now to play together. You are all just in this together. You don't have to worry about fading off to the next metaphysical dimension or something. You're all in this together, and it's a lot of fun, okay? Multiplayer is just fun when you're playing with friends. I can't really speak to playing with randoms. I can imagine it's not going to be as fun because communication in this is key, okay? You have to actually work together, you know, where each of you are going to go to, you know, get some loot, to take down a mini-boss, to get the abilities from that mini-boss, to do a little bit of, you know, dungeon hopping to find some geared loot and all that kind of stuff, or just, you know, basically scrounge and look for upgrade materials and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of communication, you know, in this game, and how you kind of share the loot as well.
And engage in jolly cooperation.
Elden Ring Nightreign, you gotta go fast, okay? This is basically Sonic at certain points, so that's my next point, which is a negative. I don't like the leveling up system. It takes away player agency. Yes, it replaces it with a bunch of other stuff, you know, there's so much build variation now. Each character is stacked differently already, so, you know, it already starts you off with a different, you know, play style. But basically, you don't stack into, you know, stamina and strength and stuff like that anymore. Basically, it's all done for you. It's just a quick level up screen, but of course there is a lot of build variation with how all of the abilities work, and basically everything is a passive in this game, for the most part. There is so much passive abilities, stuff that you find that change up your playstyle, like just walking will trigger lightning storms or invisibility. All of this crazy shit, you know, parrying will deal extra damage or stagger the enemy and stuff like that. You know, there's so many different little stat debuffs and bonuses and just actual full-fledged abilities that are added to your character without actually, you know, any action to use them, which is very interesting, and it does play differently a lot compared to Elden Ring, but I just, you know, it's not as personal as building up your own character, so that is a negative to me, even if they have added a lot of other stuff that makes it fun, and I guess it fits the theme much better for a multiplayer game because you can't sit there for ages pondering your life decision.
Fortnite.
Well, hello there, traveler. Do you want to play Elden Ring Nightreign, but you're thinking it looks like a little bit of a mod or it looks like a little bit of a remix and you're not sure about spending full price on it? Well, I understand, I do understand, even if it is a good game. Okay, so don't shoot me, even if it is a good game. But how about I tell you that you can play it already with a huge discount attached right off the gate. If you want to pre-order the game or you just want to get it day one, I've got you covered. So thanks to today's sponsor, Instant Gaming, who are partnered with the channel, you can get huge savings on, you know, pre-orders, day one releases. For example, Elden Ring. You can get the other Elden Ring games, you know, DLC for it, the other Dark Souls games, all with a huge discount. As you can see, it's on 18% off right now, which is pretty insane considering it's not even out yet. So everything day one or, you know, pre-orders, it has you covered. You can also find Dark Souls with huge sales because older games have even deeper sales, but everything on Instant Gaming comes with a huge sale. You can get the deluxe edition of Dark Souls 3, which is all the DLCs included, at 63% off. Dark Souls, the original, which I highly recommend, at 58% off. Dark Souls 2 at 54% off. So huge savings with Instant Gaming. They get them directly from authorized resellers. I personally can vouch for it, and many wise ones now have used the code. And please do yourself a service, save money, don't waste money when you can literally save money playing brand new games, as games are getting more expensive and everything is getting more expensive, and support the games that you love by getting them but saving yourself huge amounts of money while you play them. It just makes perfect sense, to be honest. So there you go, use Instant Gaming. So yes, there are plenty of bosses, mini bosses as well in Elden Ring Nightreign, okay? And I think a big critique in other Elden Ring Nightreign reviews will be the fact that a lot of the bosses are reused, a lot of the bosses are remixed, and, you know, just, whoa, it's the same boss, but it's a little bit different. You've seen it before, but now here it is again. I'm not a big fan of that. I wasn't a fan of it in Elden Ring. I'm not gonna regurgitate myself, but check out my other video that I just made. I go into much more detail there. I don't really think it's a good thing, but at the same time, there are plenty of new bosses as well in this game, so it's not really a big deal breaker. Also, you will be fighting other bosses from the previous games, so from Dark Souls 2, which is pretty insane stuff.
No! Not good! Stop!
I do still feel that I am in a toxic relationship at times because I love the idea of fighting Dark Souls bosses using Elden Ring gameplay, but at the same time, my autistic lore brain just doesn't comprehend how I can be fighting Dark Souls bosses.
No! Not good! Stop!
And I am one of those people who is massively into the themes and you know, not so much for lore necessarily, but for themes and philosophy of Dark Souls, because it's one of those games that is so thematically deep on so many different ways, on so many different levels. It's so thematically deep. You can look at it very basically and just say, ooh, it's a battle against nihilism, and not to go hollow and all of that kind of stuff, but it goes a lot deeper the more you look into that game. It's just crazy. I love how the gameplay is tied to actual lore reasons in the universe, like drinking the Estus flask, okay? Like I said, go watch my other videos, I go on about it a ton. I don't want to bog down this review, but to carry on that theme of a remix of a mod to a degree, and yes, I'm not saying this is a mod, of course this is still a standalone game and it's got a lot of new interesting stuff in it, but it is still heavily focused on that remixed, you know, boss encounter design. But also with the weapons, it's literally the same assets being used, the same enemies, the same locations. They literally take a whole goddamn castle and just dump it on a map. It's exactly the same thing. And it doesn't make much sense, and yes, my critical brain is going off and I don't want to get down lost in that rabbit hole all over again, because level design is one of the key factors as to what makes Dark Souls 1 so amazing and like a masterpiece of all gaming ever made. But now it's actually just a jumbled map together, and it makes sense in a multiplayer sense. It makes sense because now it's an arena-based game and it's not about level design, it's not about deep storytelling. I get that, okay? Everyone plays it for a different reason. Okay, Savior, calm down. Now the next positive in my Elden Ring Nightreign review, before I lose my sanity and I do literally go hollow because my sanity is slowly leaving, I need to goddamn squeeze some humanity back into me just to keep me sane enough. But anyway, let's carry on, shall we?
Fortnite.
I'm sorry if I do come off as a little bit frantic in this video, but this just has me very mixed. This just has me very torn. My emotions are a little bit all over the place right now because I don't think, for die-hard Dark Souls fans, okay, you get where I'm coming from, maybe, I hope. You know, I absolutely love Dark Souls 1. I have the little figures, I paint them. I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. I love the artistry. I love how everything is done in that game. The music, the level design, being interconnected, the philosophical nature of that game, and the story, the world building, everything about it, the tight nature of the design itself, the combat encounters for slower nature, and how everything feeds together. It's a great game. I think we can all agree to that. And big Dark Souls fucking nerds like myself, who also love all the other games, okay, going all the way back to Kingsfield, will just understand how I'm feeling when it comes to some of the creative choices that this game has made that I'm not a huge fan of. But it doesn't stop it from being a good game. So I just want to, you know, say sorry if I'm a little bit crazy in this review, okay? So on to the next positive, okay? Now, because this game is much more fast and not that slow anymore, basically how you traverse the world is different. So you can now be like goddamn Gandalf and fly around on eagles. Yes, that's right, magical eagles will now guide you around. Okay, it's not like a parachute or anything like that you've seen in Fortnite or whatever the hell other games that do this kind of thing. Okay, it's different because it's magical eagles. But anyway, so you can traverse that way. There's little hopping, like jumping points, just like in Elden Ring. But you can go much faster yourself. There's like this unlimited sprint that you can pull off, which is pretty cool. But also how you traverse the world is different. Basically, instead of having a jump button, now you have a parkour button, okay? So it's a little bit Assassin's Creed-y, where you can literally scale up anything to a point. And yes, you can even do that with some enemies, which some might say defeats the point of the whole enemy design. But it does make everything much quicker, okay? In some aspects, okay? And a big positive that I just want to highlight, which most people won't understand, because most people aren't insane like I am. If you want to know my full insanity, you can watch my 1 hour critique of Elden Ring. But anyway, there is no torrent. Thank God. There is no torrent in this goddamn game. There never needed to be a torrent because it literally negates all of the environmental, you know, like exploration and environmental dangers, which is what Dark Souls is all about, you know, navigating swamp areas and all that stuff, or enemies. Oh, just ignore those enemies because you can just goddamn fly away on your magical goat. So that's pretty good. But that also might be because there is no need for a torrent because the map is much more smaller. But why is there still open world then? Because they had to fit that gameplay design of a Fortnite battle, you know, royale type deal thing. I still think a multiplayer game in a traditional Souls-like setting where it's linear levels with different branching paths and stuff like that would have been much more interesting. But hey, that's just me. I still think it's much better without torrent, and it does add to the light exploration in this game, because this game does not really have good exploration like the previous games. It's all about just going fast, getting your upgrades, getting your abilities, focusing on combat and survival, okay? That doesn't mean to say it's bad, it's just very different, and that is why it's fun as a multiplayer game, but it just feels a little bit strange, playing it, because this is, it just feels a little bit strange at times because you're literally in the world of Elden Ring, but it feels like a completely different game.
Fortnite.
The next negative that I want to highlight is the UI design of it, okay? It's quite funny because there were memes, so many good memes of Elden Ring when it was released, like, this is what Elden Ring would look like if Ubisoft made it. And now it's literally become its own meme. It's lived long enough to see itself become the villain or something, I guess. Obviously it's not that bad, but there is a lot of UI shit in this game that I don't like, that goes against the very fundamental nature of the clean UI design of the previous Souls-likes, but the Souls games, I mean. But still, it's not too bad, but yes, now there is a lot of shit on screen. Also, when you drop loot now, it literally has like a little hologram, which looks a little bit weird to me in in this type of setting, because, a small little nitpick, a small little negative, if I can just say something quickly, is that I do not like how you revive your buddies, okay, your friends in this game. Basically, when you're fighting mini-bosses, they go down, but they have a timer, okay? And then you have to poke them with your sword or whatever, shoot them with an arrow. Basically, you have to give them damage, enough damage until they get back up, which is a little bit, I don't know, does that make sense to you? But hey, it works, okay? But, it's still, I guess, a little bit more fun than just holding down a button. On the final boss, it does not matter. There is no timed state, but you know what? Elden Ring has some good mods, and there was this mod where basically you drink an Estus flask, and if you're in the same area of your teammates, it actually then buffs and gives health to your teammates, and it makes you play tactically when you have time to sip your Estus, which is what it's always been about. And yes, there is still that, but I would have liked to see more creative ideas like from mods and stuff, and there is still some of that in here, but still I just would have liked to see From Software go more creative with it. They are definitely following a blueprint of what is popular, what is fun, and that's fine, because it is fun and it is a good time. But, where is the creativity?
Fortnite.
Now, the next positive, my wise ones, is you can be a bird. Yes, you can actually be a bird in this game. It's pretty cool, because you can dive bomb your enemies, which is hilarious. And all of the characters are good in this game. I can't speak about all of them because this is from the early access stuff, but there are 8 characters on release, but they all play differently. And I have to say that the mages in this game, the sorcerer build, is super interesting to me, and it's much more diverse compared to even Elden Ring, base Elden Ring, which is pretty insane stuff considering just how many different builds that are originally in Elden Ring. The build variation in this, thanks to buffs and passive abilities and all this kind of stuff, leveling up your character in certain different attributes with your gear and stuff like that. There is going to be a lot of build variation, even if it isn't in the same traditional way. And I do like the fact that each character plays very differently in this game, so that is a big positive for me. And each character has, a unique ability, for example, like going invisible, or using a grappling hook, stuff like that. So I really do like that each character feels unique and distinct, and we are seeing some interesting characters, like I said, like the bird character. The ultimate abilities in this game are just pretty batshit insane, and they do add a lot to the gameplay. They change how each character actually works as a team as well. So you actually really have to think about what character you're playing as, which I really do like. Also, the whole circle mechanic of the arena getting tighter and tighter as the day goes down. It's nice, it works, and it taps into that primal survival, just fun nature. But again, it would have been cool to see some more interesting creative choices on that part. Like, for example, if you're outside the area, instead of just, going down and basically that's it, having just debuffs or, like meeting different, unique enemies out in that area before you get into the, like kind of safe zone would have been cool for me anyway. Now on to a big negative for me, and I've already talked about this in my previous video, so please go watch that because I will not regurgitate myself here. Otherwise people who watch both videos will go insane, because basically they've had to dilute the graphics to make it more stable for multiplayer. Okay, so assets are worse. Pop-in is pretty disgusting, to be honest, at least from what I've played so far and what I've seen. And just for textures, everything about it just looks pretty bad. Elden Ring and all of the Dark Souls games are all about unique, different areas and the melancholy in each area, the decay in these worlds, but also the beauty in Elden Ring, like these just beautiful wallpaper moments of like seeing these crazy vistas, these giant abstract medieval like weird designs, all of that kind of stuff. It's all gone pretty much here. There is still some of it, but it's much more focused about gameplay design with the map in a multiplayer setting instead of environmental exploration and beauty and soaking in the atmosphere. And again, that's going to depend on what kind of player you are. As this is a multiplayer game and it is all about that gameplay, I can excuse it, but it just takes away some of the magic from Elden Ring. And this is a big point. Please do not play this game if you've never played Elden Ring before, because then if you go back to Elden Ring, it spoils so many big grandiose moments that that game has. So please don't do that.
Fortnite.
And that brings me on to my next point, which is the bosses. Yes, some of them are incredible because there are new bosses that you have in this new game, like fighting these three-headed, like fighting this multi-stage dog that actually transforms and separates itself into like 3 different dogs that you have to take down, and so many others, a lot of remixes and bosses from previous games. But okay, so I feel that Elden Ring itself already did this to me. It gave me some boss fatigue, okay? I can remember every single boss in Dark Souls because they are all standout moments. They all have a huge weight and impact on everything. On gameplay, on, just like environmental, locations, lore reasons, all of this kind of stuff, okay? I don't remember most bosses in Elden Ring. And again, here, it makes them less impactful. It makes it less meaningful to have all of these bosses just remixed and regurgitated. Now there's 5 Margotts that you have to fight. And, I just feel like it takes away some of the magic. It doesn't mean it's not fun. Of course, the gameplay is so good and the difficulty, overcoming that is still satisfying here, even if it is easier because you're working as a team. But people who love that experience can capture that feeling of overcoming difficulty, but with a more streamlined and mainstream approach. And I think that's good. It might get people more into the From Software games, but at the same time it loses the magic. Okay, it just loses the magic for me anyway. Okay, that's a personal bias. I will grant you that. The next positive of Elden Ring Nightreign is the fact that you can change your character's cosmetics, make them, all stand out and different. Even if you are, playing as just one specific character, you can still make them feel unique, even if you can't customize them and level them up in the same way, which is nice, okay? And a huge big positive that I want to highlight, which I never liked in Elden Ring, is that there is no crafting in this game. Thank God, okay? There's no more crafting that you have to worry about. Basically now, when you stumble upon materials, okay, they act differently in this game, so they can give you buffs to your stamina, to your, your mana, and your health and stuff like that. So that's how it works in this game. Also, there is still some exploration in this game, but it doesn't give you enough time to fully appreciate it. There are dungeons. Most of these dungeons now just offer some basic loot that you can find, some weapons and stuff, and you actually have to, communicate with each other, like who wants, you know, the loot and stuff like that. So that's fun. Also, I don't really like how the loot is handled to a degree, because now it's on a basic rare system of, you know, like purple being like rare and just common and stuff like that. We've seen that in so many games. Can we, you know, where's the flair, okay? I still think it works, I still think it's fun, but I just think they could have been a little bit more creative with it. But that's how loot is working in this game, and that's how exploration works in this. But there is still, you know, some upgrade materials that you can, you know, gather that are merchants, especially back at the hub. There's also going to be lore story, you know, being told to you at the hub area, where you can speak to the characters as you progress and level up your characters and stuff like that. So there is still enough here to make it feel not just like, you know, a random go into this map and fight a boss, you know, kind of like Monster Hunter or something. There is still a story here to a degree and a sense of progression that I like. Some exploration is just not as done, it's just not as good as, you know, proper exploration in the previous games. And the final big positive is I really do love how they've changed the gameplay around in this. Like I said, some weapons now function completely differently. Everything feels like Elden Ring, but it plays completely differently, which is refreshing. And I do encourage developers to try spin-off titles, but I don't like when developers are just simply chasing trends. And this does feel like From Software is a bit like, okay, Elden Ring was so successful, let's capitalize on that, which is fair enough. But, you know, I would like to see a little bit more creativity with this, honestly. But I really do like how the abilities are handled, how you can get so many different passive stacks of different abilities working, you know, on top of each other. Even if you're playing as a knight, you're not focusing on magic whatsoever, you can still get, you know, like a magic buff from your teammate, or from just like a passive ability that you pick up from a mini boss, or, you know, random equipment that you find. That's so fun, and that's really cool. You know, it changes even basic things that you normally do, but adds elements from Elden Ring on top of it, if that makes any sense. Like, just blocking can trigger, you know, like a unique spell, and stuff like that. It just makes it fun. It makes it feel unique and different. So there you go. That is all of my positives and negatives. As you can probably tell, it's a very mixed one, which is weird, because this game is quality. This game is great, okay? But for me, my personal biases makes a lot of the negatives. I've got to, you know, see it for what it is. This is a fun game, and it doesn't stop it from being fun with friends. But I just think it dilutes what the whole Souls franchise has been about to a degree. But when I look at it objectively, just as a standalone individual game, if I don't compare it to the other games, which is obviously difficult as this is literally Elden Ring, it's still a fantastic game. Do I think it could be more creative? Yes. Do I think they should have changed some things, giving, you know, players more agency? Does it feel a little bit more shallow? Yes, to a degree. But is it fun? I think, yes, it is going to be fun for a lot of people, but I don't think this is going to hold people's attention for that long, to a degree. And yeah, I'm glad it's not full price. And I just think that this is a very interesting game, to be honest. And I was so excited to talk about it and share you my, you know, thoughts and impressions, and give you my Elden Ring Nightreign review based on the early access stuff. I do hope you enjoyed, my wise ones. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.
Fortnite.